Hello, Extreme have published an on-demand lab guide to accompany the Extreme Fabric installation and configuration course on the Extreme Academy. I thought I'd open it up here and just go through the document, showing you what it's going to ask you to do in the labs. So I'm going to attempt lab 1 and I'm going to try and simulate this or replicate this in GNS3. As you can see here on the right side, I've created the same topology that's in the lab guide. So if I just scroll down to the objectives for the lab, it shows you the topology, which consists of 4 Fabric switches, Fabric engines, A, B, C and D. They will use zero-touch Fabric when they first boot up. So the idea is in this video is just to show you what happens on FEC, because this is going to be started up in GNS3 in a factory default setting with no configuration, but it's because it's running 9.2 software, FOSS software, it will automatically create the SBBM links between nodes and start to create a nice fabric for you. So this sort of automation is becoming very popular. And then we'll go and add the second switch. We'll bring up the FED switch as per the lab, and you'll notice it will show you the ISIS adjacencies formed between those two switches. And finally in the lab we create a layer 2 VSN between those nodes, and we're able to ping from PCC to PCD and vice versa. So let's just move on through the document to page 12, just scrolling down so you can see the contents of the lab guide, and don't expect you to read this, but just wanted to get to the page 12 here where we log into FEC. So what I'm going to do is right click on FEC in GNS3 and I'm going to start the console. This output here is just showing the output from it booting up essentially, and it's trying to do zero touch provisioning, plus it's trying to discover the cloud, essentially Cloud IQ, and if I press return we get the login prompt. So I'm going to type RWA, which is the default admin username, and then the default password is RWA. So it asks me to enter a new password. I'm just going to put RWA back in, but you would normally choose a new password at this stage. So I've got the greater than symbol at the command line prompt, so I'm just going to enable that so it goes into the hash prompt, and from here I can follow the guide a bit further down. So we've gone into the terminal. Let's do the show CLI info command. Let's see what that looks like, and we can change the CLI timeout from 900 seconds, which is 15 minutes, to a lot longer, so we might want to set it to an hour. So if I do that as per the guide and say timeout 3600, it doesn't work. So you have to be in conf terminal for the configuration command to work. So just switch into conf T. I can do an up arrow just to repeat the command, and it works in the global configuration mode in the configuration terminal. Next it wants me to do show logging config, so I'm going to do show logging config, and these commands can be done from the global configuration mode as well. I'm going to show the software, and you can see the version of software here is 9.2 general availability. That's the primary release, and No other releases are on this build. I'm going to look at the show sysinfo command, and you can see the description of the 5520/24T Fabric engine with 9.2 loaded, and the sysname, the uptime, and just space bar through to see more information about the hardware that's available in this GNS3 simulator. Then we're going to look at the show license command. You can see the base and Premier licenses are perpetual, and it gives you a note here about, in reality, you would make sure that you've got proper licenses installed or available. And we just scroll on, switch configuration. So how do we look at the running configuration? We would type show running config, and we start to space bar through the pages of the running config as it stands, and there's not a great deal of config in this currently, but we can select to include certain text in our running config output as well. So show running, you put a pipe and use include, and let's say we want to look for the word VLAN. Then it pulls out information or lines that have got VLAN in it. We can do show running module, and question mark is your friend here, so you can see what parameters can be added to commands. And you can see I can do show running module, and let's say I just want to look at the ISIS module. You can see the section from the running config where router ISIS is enabled. Similarly, I can do SPBM, and you see the section for SPBM. So at this stage, we need to save the config in order to stop it doing zero touch provisioning plus. Otherwise it'll keep trying to connect to the cloud. So if we do, well, let's do the show boot config choice command, and you can see the primary config file is stored in int flash as config.cfg, and the backup config file is also called int flash config.cfg. So if we do ls*.cfg, you'll notice there aren't any config.cfg saved at the moment, and if you do more.config.cfg, there's nothing to open and view because that file doesn't exist yet. If I do save config, it will create a config.cfg, and if I repeat those commands ls.cfg, we've now got a config.cfg with some content, and we can check the content with the more command, and you can view the config.cfg from the command line. Okay, so just scrolling down to the next stage, which is section C, which is talking about zero touch fabric, ZTF. So I'm going to start up Fabric Engine D, and I'm going to pause the video whilst I do this because it takes a few minutes to boot up. Okay, the Fabric Engine D has booted up and given me the login prompt, and the switch has automatically joined the Fabric and made a connection, or two connections actually, with Fabric Engine C on ports 17 and 18. So I'm just going to move this across here to carry on with the screen on the left, which is the instructions of the lab. So I'm going to log in again with RWA, put in RWA again, and then move to the hash prompt, and it's telling me to give the switch a meaningful name, so I'm going to do that with the SNMP server name FED command. You will notice I need it to be in conf t, SNMP server name FED, and you know, notice it changes the prompt to the name I just put in with the SNMP server command. Alright, so let's look at the next command, which is show interface gig. We can shorten the wording and then do auto and use tab to complete the command and then return, and we'll see what looks like the document in that we've got 1.7 and 1.8. Their auto sent state is NNI ISIS up, which shows that there is an NNI ISIS connection between the switches. Let's look at the ISIS adjacencies with the adjacencies command, and we can see that both adjacencies are up, and one of them is active and one of them is backup. Because they're not part of a multi-link trunk, we will have one of them in use as active and the other will be a backup. If you want to have both active, you would have to put them into a multi-link trunk. So section D of this lab is to create a layer 2 VSN, and we're going to do that between the switch C and D, and we're going to be able to ping between PCC and PCD. So let's move to C and create the VLAN 20. Add a VLAN member with 1.5, which is the PC that's connected to port 1.5 on switch C, and you'll notice that it takes auto sense off the port when we do this manual configuration. I'm going to create a layer 2 VSN. So how do we do that? We create that by using VLAN ISID, give the VLAN number and then the ISID number. So that's what we're doing there, and we can also create an ISID name for ISID 220, and we're going to call it 20-data. Scroll down and make sure that the interface 1.5 is not shut. I know that this is enabled by default in this release, so I can prove that just by doing show in gig state 1.5, and you'll see that the admin status is up, so I don't really need to do the no shut command even though it tells me to do. So I'm going to do the next command to show the VLAN members, and we'll see our new VLAN 20 has got one port in it, 1.5. We can do the show ports VLAN command, and we can see whether the ports are tagging or not, and what VLANs are associated with the ports with this command. And then we need to go on to D and do a similar thing, create the VLAN over on D. So we do VLAN create 20 type port MSTP RSTP 0, and we're going to add VLAN members, add 20 to 1.5 on this side. Again, auto sense will be disabled. We need to create the ICID. For VLAN 20, this binds the ICID to the VLAN. And we're going to give it a name also, ICID name 20, and we're going to call it 20-data. And we're going to show our VLAN members again. There's 1.5 in VLAN 20. Show ports VLAN. We see that 1.5 is a member of VLAN 20, untagged, and we're going to save the config. Right, so we're going to verify the layer 2 VSN works by going onto the PCs in the TNS3 and assign IP addresses to the PCs and ping between them. So I need to start up PCC. These start up very quickly, and go to the console and start up PCD and bring that up in the console. So firstly on PCC, let's just move that across again. I'm going to do show IP just to show that there's no IP address at the moment, but I'm going to put in an IP address of 10.1.20.71 as a class C. It checks for duplicate address. I'm going to repeat the show IP command, and it's got an IP assigned to the PC. I'm going to do the same on D, PCD. I'm just going to create the IP address with this command, 10.1.20.81/24, and I should from D be able to ping across the fabric to PCC. Not available, not reachable. Why? Okay, I couldn't ping between the PCs. I'd just been and checked. I did make a typo on FED, and I noticed the ICID number that I created was different to the one on C. So I'd left out a 0 in the ICID number. So that's the reason it's not working. So you notice on C it's got 2020, and FED it's got 220. So I need to correct that. I'll just delete the VLAN ICID and put in 20220. Sorry, just that command without the ICID. Show VLAN ICID, and now that ICID is gone, I can recreate it properly by doing VLAN ICID 20.200.20 and show VLAN ICID. That looks correct now. So when I go to PCD again and up arrow, just repeat the command, then it works because the ICIDs match on both sides. And if I go to PCC, I should be able to ping across to the other PC, which I can. So that concludes the lab, and yeah, just wanted to, sorry about the typo, but it does highlight a problem which is worth troubleshooting, and it's quite easy to fix. But I'll create another video for one of the other labs and go through the student guide lab by lab. Thank you for joining.